Hi, everybody. Welcome in. I'm Ernesto. I'm your host here at the Alchemy Annex, powered by Celestial Intersections Radio and eastrologer.tv. We are here with you on our new night tonight on Wednesdays from 7 to 8 p.m. And just to let everybody know, a quick piece of housekeeping you might be interested in. We are canceling the show off of Blog Talk Radio and migrating over to Spreaker. So if you try to find us next week here at this network, you aren't going to get very far. You're just going to get the information that'll direct you to the new show page over at Spreaker. It'll still be under the same account name, and you can access all of those old episodes. So Loretta, welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope everything is going great for you today.
Oh, it's going wonderful.
Well,
Glad to be here.
I'm just going to share with you a little bit about my experience this past couple of weeks. This is just like, I really want to sit down and get something accomplished. But then it's kind of like, oh no, I have to do 6 other things before I can even do that one thing that I want to focus on. And it's just a lot of BS that distracts. Like trying to fix an account issue that I've been dealing with for the past 2 years and being on a support chat for 4 hours that doesn't go anywhere before they finally decide to escalate it, which is what I first said. So it's just frustrating. And this has been my whole thing is I just want to sit down and create some content now that I'm kind of feeling back to sorts again. And then, it's just like, I have to go to the bank. I have to do all of this other stuff. And it's like, can you please just go away? Or can I just get a vacation where everybody is dead and I can have some personal time because I just need to recharge and catch up here?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely been that type and sort of energy for me. As chaotic as it sounds, for me, wiping things off a list is better than accomplishing 2,000 things. And that list is going to be, like you just said, that's going to be I'll do that before I do anything else list. And you find that it's a good incentive to not keep those kind of get it done lists around because you don't have any reason to just not procrastinate something when you've got the time on your hands. But it's all good. We all learn from that spontaneity of life that when you don't like it the most, it's the most what we need.
I learned this the other day. This new turn of phrase that I really like. So sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Yep.
And I've been going through more of the learning process, and it's just about time management and focusing on what really is important to me in life. And I'm going through some personal changes, and things are kind of shifting in my own inner psyche, and it's exciting, which is one of the reasons why we are doing this show today about creative visualization, is because I really want everybody to be aware of the things that we can create through our thoughts and our actions when we are going through a period of change and growth. So remember that we are really truly only limited to the matrix of possibilities that's outlined in our birth chart. Like, I am not an astronaut. So if I ever decided to go out and follow that line of business and everything else professionally, I would meet all kinds of obstacles because I don't have that potential in my chart. This is one of the things that's really sort of dicey, especially here in the United States, is that we are gaslighted to believe you can be anything that you want. You absolutely cannot be anything that you want. You can only be what's possible in your chart. And if it's not there, it ain't happening. Like for me, I really was hell-bent on becoming a music director of early music, stuff written before the 1700s. I had so much difficulty and heartbreak and despair in that whole experience. I ended up walking away from it. And if somebody had told me a long time ago, Ernesto, you just don't have the potential to be a musician. Maybe you should focus on like some math and science. That might take you someplace. That would have been like life-changing information that would have saved me a hell of a lot of time. So when we talk about shaping your future and manifesting the things that you would like to achieve in life creatively through meditation, through thought, through prayer, whatever words that you want to throw in there, you can only get what's truly possible in your life. Like if you want to win the lottery, but that potential's not there, then it ain't going to happen. So I just want to be clear about a couple of things, that creative visualization and creative manifestation, I'm going to be using interchangeably here. There may be like a very small difference in the scope or the actual definition of those two words, but they basically mean the same thing. So creative visualization just means that you create things in your mind, like guided meditations. You've probably seen these things. And by continuing to do that, it shifts something within your inner psyche that those things begin to manifest. So, Veretta, my first question for you today, for everybody who's just kind of joining us and starting out with this whole concept, is what are some of the basics that we need to know about things like creative visualization?
Creative visualization is nothing less than the creative frustration of being in the go mode and not knowing what right words to say. So what you've got to do is put yourself in a position to understand that I really, really want this, and if there's really any reason why I can't, and it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings upstairs, send it my way. The reality of the sentence you said just prior to that, you can pray for the lottery every day. If it's not in your chart, you're gonna spend money for whatever. You're investing in somebody else's lottery luck. The manifestation property, period, whether it's visual, physical, it starts with something as simple as sound, but then quickly gains rate and octaves to then become what will manifest. So say you're going to say, I want to manifest an apple. And now you have to sit and think about, not feel, not look at, not digest, think about what does an apple look like. When you've got all the bases covered, what it feels like, what it tastes like, and these are all things that you're using senses for, not necessarily like biting a bite out of it, but in your mind, creatively thinking about what that apple would be like, and then allowing yourself to match the vibrational rate of the apple. And when everything's good to go and there's no reason why you can't have a little bit around, voila, you get an apple or a tree, or the whole truck slams you in. Anyway, so you can do it, but here's the thing. Unfortunately, and I've heard this time and time again, why do I have to do all the work? Well, why can't somebody, why can't spirit do a little? Or why, since I'm doing everything exactly right, I read the book twice, front and back, and I did all the work, and I did all the chapters, nothing's happening. I'm not healing. And the simple core text to that is, you want it too much, or you don't want it enough, or there's some type of action on your part, but it's not as significant as what you're supposed to have. And that really was a very metaphoric statement, in that visualization can happen whether you say it out loud or not. Physical manifestation takes a little bit more effort, but the first thought is that you got to see it through your head. You got to see it in your eyes. You got to see a way out of understanding what that's supposed to be like, so that you can manifest it.
For sure. And, I really like what you said, that there's about describing the difference, that the visualization end of things is using your senses to connect with whatever that thing is that you're trying to manifest. And the manifestation is more of a reflection of your own personal growth or process, or whatever, the work that you put in, that's what you get out. That's basically how this works. And, the example of winning the lottery, that I'm going to pray on this and I'm going to meditate and do all this stuff every single day. Well, again, if the potential's not there in your chart, then it ain't going to happen. And if it doesn't line up in a triple pattern, then it's not possible. But at the same time, if your intent is not pure, it's going to go away. It's just a fact. Like I have experienced this so many times like that. I think, oh, this is so great. I've made a new friend here. This is really going to be exciting, going to go out and do some new things. But in the back of my mind, I've got like some kind of ulterior motive. Like, maybe I want to start dating with somebody, and then I'm kind of confused when I get ghosted, and it's very simply just because my intent was not pure, so it's being taken away.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? So this is the workroom with that. When you ask for what you want, and then you proceed to say, if it's for a higher realm, if it can be, for the better good of all, bring it here. Bring it to me. I want it. I want to work for it. I want to keep it, or whatever it is, that gave you that energy to begin with. Start working on behalf of spirit and allow it to work on behalf of you. Otherwise, you'll be getting pissed off because all kinds of accomplishments will be done on your part, and there's nothing you're seeing happen on spirit. And that's where I see people say, just screw spirituality, or if this doesn't happen this time like I wanted, then I don't believe in spirit ever was. And those type of definitive statements, that carves away your ability to go ahead and create anything that isn't tragic. You've got to remember, if you can create great things from manifestation, you can create greater things from the damage that can be done in trying to believe that you're going to work a deal with spirit, and spirit's going to tell you all the magic secrets, and you're going to be the one, you're going to be the man. No, it can't work like that. A lot of people have to have a lot of information. Not one source can have one anything.
What methods or practices do you recommend or suggest for people who are new to this type of thought or practice?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I would say is take some time to extend your research into the area that you're living in, and usually there's a spiritual something pocketed away somewhere. When you get right in your heart about the things you think in your head, when you get in alignment with what energy you want to come towards you by creating that energy in return, when you're in a position not to let ego dictate to you or drive you, you're going to be pretty sure that anything you create is going to be okay, because you are of the light and you remain in the light. And any given moment when you need assurance from the light, you're already 1 foot there. So it's not even looking for answers from spirit with a known vocabulary. I'm notorious for just asking spirit what I'm not even asking a question in verbal sense, a structure of context where I want to know da-da-da-da. I felt things and I wasn't sure where it was coming from, and I really didn't want to wait for what, so I just threw the big proverbial question mark in the air. And in that, what I mean is I open all my radars to see what comes up when I say, what's this all about? Not necessarily in those words, but when I feel that, when I want to interpret it in a manner that I can digest it easily. For me, it's impassibility. So when I feel an emotion, it's going to come across one way or the other, and you're pretty sure to bet that if it's a sound, not good feeling, good emotion, we're going to figure out how to not. We're going to figure out how to mitigate. We're going to have to, figure out another way, because if we volunteer for negative, then we're not in a position to ever be in a place to manifest something positive. And if we are, it'll feel like you want something right away, but when it comes right down to it, you hate the neighbor that you've had for 30 years more than what you want that right there. So guess what's going to prevail? Because it's a denser, it's an easier carried energy, and we run crazy in our mind about the things that we feel we failed.
How can we as individuals become more attuned to our own energetic state to enhance the manifestation process?
Okay, perfect question. So what you want to do is you want to learn who you are in the middle, right? You want to know what your energy is about. You want to know if there's little shadow things going on back there you got to take care of, because sure as doubt, the minute you start to move forward, 14 things going to jump out of the shadows and knock your energy over because you weren't thorough in trying to investigate what this would entail. So the profile, yes, you must have protocol for these things that we are talking about, because what can be a funny little parlor trick, can be something a lot more not so appealing. Let's just say if things were to go south where energy is concerned. What? There's less energy? Yes, and that's why you really want to know what you're dealing with, because it's not okay to open the door and say, oh, you know, I'm opening the door to Aunt Ruby's attic. Let's see who comes through. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, my God. So your protocol would be first. You gain knowledge. You communicate with whomever it is that you are talking to when you're talking to yourself. Does that mean you have to sit in a group of people do it? No. It's easier if you do it through guided meditation, but not necessarily. So I have people sit and do probably an ample amount. Back in the day, I used to have people sit and do 5 to 7 minutes of meditation. I don't want to let them see a clock. And when it comes down to doing one of the types of meditations we're doing, after it's all said and done, I want people to tell me how long they thought that was. Half hour, 45 minutes, 20 overall. How they were all wrong. It was 3 minutes. So what you want to do is understand how to recognize energy. And that's good exercise to do it, because time is regulated only by our thoughts. So we need to get right with who we are. We need to find a reason to have pure intent. We need to apply that pure intent-driven method. And then maybe, just maybe, you'll be on that play zone that you can start understanding a little bit more about how the universe works. The protocol you have is you're always blessed and protected as long as you stay in the light. When our circles start, I always bring a blessing down and protection. I ask that each individual get what the intent was for that night or that day, whatever the class may be. And that's what you really got to know, is that everybody's going to grow on the terms that they're capable of. Again, where you were saying something earlier about, yeah, you know, if you said you want to be an astronaut, that's ridiculous. I can't. Well, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder that maybe it wasn't just in what you thought you were supposed to do. Well, we learn a lot of things from feeling like we fell short. So if we've got our protocol, we're doing our blessing, we're bringing down intention, we're negating anything with blessed purity of white light, and then we're going for it. We're going full bore into what we want to do. We want to develop our psychic senses, our healing abilities. You know, what do you want? What do you be a medium? What do you want to develop? So much so that the reason that this is being asked is because that it will diversify how you're taught and what type of person should teach you. If you're the kind of somebody that needs visualization, you know, you might go through 1, 4, 5 until you find that right person that you really can click with. And more often than not, they end up going away. But it's a sure bet that if you ever find someone of a spiritual manner as a spiritual leader that you click with, or that more precisely clicks with you, grab onto them and handcuff them, because honestly, you don't find them very often. And I have come to realize that there's a lot to be given in information, but there's a lot more you get in learning.
And that is the truth. You know, like, I have known you for as long as I have been in this business, pretty much. And the whole reason the whole reason for that is because you don't get into all of that other crap that other people do. You know, like, you're legitimate and, you know, you're real, and focus on the work, you know, which is really why we're here. And so that always speaks to me as somebody who really holds professionalism as a standard in many regards. The fact that, you don't get into all of that other stuff, that's really what makes you stand out. So that's why I have always made a point to keep in touch, is just because we are basically the same person, you know. Well, I mean, we know that we come
Yeah.
from the same soul family, so that's we are the same
Yeah.
people, so that's great. But you know, like I always think about it like if I was ever going to do a really wild show where everybody who's on the line runs the risk of being disrespected, like in a Howard Stern type of format, if you don't
Oh my
like it,
God.
then that's okay. Because do you know how many free psychic reading shows there are out there? You know, like there is a sea full of garbage. I'm sorry that we're the best in town and I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings. Do better because that's just the way it is.
Well, and just remember, there's two ways that everything can be said, more than two, but two ways at least, everything can be said. So if you're so sensitive that your feelings are hurt because you thought you were going to hear something and didn't, that's also on you, not on us.
It's really funny in customer care when consumers will literally explode when I use a phrase that goes something like this. My job is to help you. And all I'm hearing from you is complaints, venting, or everything is negative. It's almost as if my suggestions aren't good enough. So tell me then, what would you like to do to resolve this problem? When you confront people and hold them accountable for what they actually want because they can't find those words and they just want to be negative, people literally explode on the inside because they just can't handle it.
Yeah. My kid come up with, and I'm sure he read it somewhere, and we're standing in the store at some point, and he said, "You know what, Mom? What?" I said, "I've killed that guy 3 times in my head already." I thought, God, that's got to be a T-shirt worthy saying, you know. And it was so true. I could just see my kid like figuring out 3 different ways to brutally take this person out of his misery. And then I got to thinking about other people. That's exactly what they do. Most of them take that to the thought of, and I'll grind you under my thumb. It's like, oh my God, let's go a little bit further than that, and then start looking for things that we wanted to have happen happily for us. And it's funny when you get to that point to where all of those things are wrapped up into one. You know, you get to that point to where you know at some point it's coming back around, so you might as well be nice about it now instead of having to apologize later.
And one thing that is for sure in this whole process of, you know, like let's say that you're trying to manifest a spouse, for example, or a new home or something like this, there are so many stepping stones along the way that we experience. And, you know, like, so we meet people and then let's say we'll use the example that you're wanting to manifest a spouse. And so you meet somebody and you say, wow, that person's all right. You know, like they have about like 60-70% of the qualities I'm really looking for. And then it's kind of like, these are the things I don't like. So I'm going to work on those aspects of myself because that's kind of how this works is what you manifest is a direct reflection of who you are on the inside and the work that you've done to transform that.
Right.
So if I'm meeting somebody and it's only 60% of what I want, and then I focus on all of the other, you know, neglected aspects of self to manifest something else, then that person goes away, that drops off, or it just becomes not interesting anymore, and it doesn't consume a whole lot of me and my energy. And then I meet, you know, potential spouse number 2, who is now 80% of what I'm looking for, which is acceptable, but they also carry like 1 or 2 massive red flags that are really kind of like not great, which could be dangerous and backfire.
Mm-hmm.
So then you just kind of keep going along this whole path and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And then finally, you're just presented with somebody who's like almost 100% of what you're looking for. You know, it's damn near perfect, but it's so out of left field. It's sort of like a fantasy that seems too good to be true. But it's like, I can get that. That is achievable. I just have to focus on myself.
Right. What am I willing to do to put the work in to get that? Because you've already sacrificed enough time, so that's beside the point. Now you want to know is what's the work that's got to be done to make sure this individual comes through.
And what's always interesting is that as we just experience life and as we go through our day-to-day actions and everything else, that the people that we attract or the people that find us all have like the same, are basically the same story, or they're from, you know, a lot of the same backstory, whatever might be going on. They mirror us in a way that's almost kind of creepy, you know, like I'm a skeptic at heart. And, you know, like when I think about things that almost seem like serendipity. It's almost like fated or destiny, that kind of stuff. That all gets really hokey into like Hallmark card aisle kind of thing. So I like to just sort of, poo-poo on all of that. But when I actually start meeting people, not just one, not just two, maybe by about the fourth or fifth different person with the same type of structure, I'm just kind of like, what is going on here? And this is a hearkening to, like me and my own personal growth journey and where we are today. So that's why I am able to attract people who are above and beyond what I would normally want for myself. But it's just because I'm realizing, oh yeah, that's me. That is who I am. And it's not the fact that this is who I need to become. I always was that person. I just had to move some clutter out of the way to see that.
Yeah, you remember we respond to what's around us. So even though it wouldn't be who we really are, we have to still navigate the waters that are around us. So, we may respond doing some of the things we wouldn't live by typically, being harsh, with someone or critiquing or road rage and it gets the better of us. Those things you put aside, but the rest of the time, if it's just everything that comes out of your mouth is intolerance, you can't do anything, nothing's ever been shown to you. And then I would say to you, I don't care what kind of protocol you provide, what kind of routine you realistically do on a regular basis, nothing that you attempt is going to be born or bred of light. It's going to be negative. It's going to be, no matter what you throw it, it's going to be negative. So you've really got to be in a position of understanding that, I wasn't right. I wasn't necessarily wrong, but I wasn't right. So you might as well quit while you're ahead and start looking at the core of what that lesson was brought to you to begin with, because that's the whole point of it. Not did you see how short Sharon shorts were? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of hypocritic groveling that we can't get out of our system until we vent it. And we don't have to vent it to a person, vent it to the dog, but be very literate that as long as you're constantly finding fault with any one person, a whole group of people, everybody you breathe the same space as, that's what you reflect. That's what you'll attract. Therefore, then nothing or very little what you find is going to be anything you want.
Beyond traditional methods like vision boards and meditation, what other creative manifestation techniques or practices have you found effective in promoting personal growth?
So there's many tools you can utilize. It really just depends upon what fits you. When I say tools, I mean a pendulum, a tarot deck, runes, scrying. That's done, in the crystal ball, tea leaves. There, it's and the thing about this is, if you're ever in a position to be able to go into a store or find a place that has more than one psychic in it, then you're going to have fun with the shop, because the shop is, what do they give me that the other guy over here 2 rows down doesn't give me? And you're going to want to always keep that golden light on. You're going to always want to shine a light of positivity, because that right there will attract more people than you can imagine. Just positive light. They might come in and suck it dry like they, use a straw over the top of your head. But the reality of that is, too, if you're not giving from self and you're getting from source, then you've got this straight tunnel through. But when you're trying to use regular tools, what you also have to connect with is the type of energy that it employs. So mediumship, you're going to get probably some good scrying going on, tea leaves maybe. Definitely, the voices and the manifestation as full apparitions, or even partial, doesn't really matter. But then that can also transfer onto physical, like camera photos, blotches in so we used to do a little bit of automatic writing, and it was just nothing more than a crayon in a basket with some little 8 by 8x2 or 8x3 strips of paper. And before that time frame, a question is asked, and then all of the answers are revealed and given, and you find that will get you honest recognition right away, because those kind of things are from the mentalist versus the mediumship. And the mediumship is more of old school spiritual value. Modern spiritualism was born in the 1800s, but it had a good foothold here in the United States too. And we have some pretty conclusive, solid species or specimens that you couldn't rebuke. You couldn't. There's no way. So these are the things that you look for in the past, and you find out where that was written, and then you go find the author that wrote that, and then you compare them to others, and then now you're finding, well, maybe I do like runes. Well, maybe I like, cards. Who cares? Playing cards. You can use playing cards. You can use dice. You can use Ching. You can use, oh my gosh, so many tools throughout the lifetimes. But the bottom line reality is you can get that without the tools too. And why am I saying that? I'm not slamming anybody that uses tools. Do not hear me say that. What I'm saying is if you can get it off of that, then you can get it without that. And that's really kind of where you want to come from. You want to get that somebody that has no idea. They really weren't raised around it. They have no clue what's to come. And they start interpreting all this stuff on their own. And then when they come up to me and they say, I do rooting, and I go, well, can you tell me what that looks like? And they'll tell me, I feel like I'm, growing roots right away. Oh, yeah, getting grounded. Okay, perfect example. So they're describing to you what they now have come to find out what it was they already do. They need to put a name to it. And you had a lot of that. I'm pretty sure that I was interested in some of the ways that you had named the things that you experienced. And because some of it is, I love the way certain people's, creativity is. So over the decades, it's become more of a spirit medium, a spirit connection, a spirit above all, and that's what the New Age grabbed onto. And if there's one thing that I would have to constantly say about New Age, if they weren't worth much, at least they really led some people to the energy that they could follow, even if it wasn't the blue light in the 7th house of the 14th ray in La La Land, and you're the princess, chiefess, bride to the Venus, whatever it is. You can tell I love that that to me is, okay, so I know that you want money, I know that you want to be somebody, so let's go make up a bunch of crap about something nobody knows very little about and sell it. And oh, by the by, you can get really gullible people with a lot of money and make them pay it. And that's still to this day, Ernesto. I still get calls from people that will say to me, Mamacita's, they call her candle maker, is telling her that she's got a curse on her and she needs me to send her. Oh my God, no, don't send any money. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. I'll take anybody on, head on, in any way possible. If you're going to tell me you're going to charge more than $1,000 up when someone is just needing a consolation talk, a little bit of happiness in their soul to look forward to, which is not going to cost you thousands of dollars to bring up, especially if they're ready for that right away. You don't need tools. You don't need anything other than your intuition to be pure of the light and connected to the right source.
And just to sort of...
And that's the protocol.
And just to, kind of go along with that protocol, just so everybody understands, like the concept of spirit communication, like just in a vacuum, like those two words, spirit communication, that seems like, you're receiving information from the ethers, or there's actual voices, that kind of thing. But the best way that I can describe it for the average person to just sort of understand spirit communication, we all experience in our day-to-day lives thoughts in our mind about what we're going to have for dinner, about that TV show that we just watched, literally anything. We think about things to ourselves all throughout the day. Now, sometimes if you're thinking about a person in particular, and you need to vent about, like, no, I'm not going to do that, or that sounds like crazy talk, kind of thing, but just by thinking about them, you almost put yourself into like one of those really old-fashioned telephone switchboards where the operator stuck a pin into a hole and that's what connected your call. Exact same thing when you're thinking about somebody. It's like spirit, the operator, puts the pin in, connects you to that person's guides, and then you can converse with them through your own internal dialogue, through your own thoughts. So that's a very simple way that you can sort of understand what spirit communication is. And if you really want to open up that world, two of the really huge pillars that we preach, not only just on the show, but also in terms of spirituality and metaphysics and psychic practice, is be open, always be open, and be curious. This having a sense of curiosity of like, ooh, what's that? Or challenging your thoughts. What happens if I do that really scary thing that I am truly afraid of? And then being open to the fact that, like, Rome's not going to burn down. I might get burnt a little bit, but it's going to be okay. So just being open and receptive to whatever these new changes might be, but most importantly, to be curious about, like, what does this new prospect bring to me? Like, how might I change as a result of this? This is all sort of wrapped into the concept of spirit communication. So that's just for everybody who's listening there and you don't understand what that term specifically refers to. Like, oh my God, I'm actually going to start hearing like weird, freaky voices in my head. What the heck is that all about? Am I crazy? Do I need pills? Yeah. No, that's absolutely not how it works. It's just your internal dialogue.
But you know what? There is something to be said in knowing the difference. Fun fact, right? So I had recently needed to see a neuro, and she's like, do you see dead people? Do you hear voices? And for a breath, I skipped a beat, and I thought, did I really tell her what I do for a living? Because I don't know what the relevance of it is, but yeah, I do. And her eyeballs got big and round, and then I said to her, fun fact, I am a medium. I'm a professional medium. And at the same time she exhaled, she withdrew again. And so I'm like, she is either not sure what she's looking like, whether she should go push the panic button and get people in here quick, or do a little bit more investigation, which is thankfully the latter was what she thought. But, I've always had to say, okay, yeah, there's a difference between the mediumship part and the part where I'm just going off the rails because my brain came off the hook. So you have to understand, and one of the biggest ways to understand is to create a safety net around your energy. Don't ever let anybody come in energetically unless that's what you want. And by why I say that is you can be really curious, and looky-loos get in trouble too, but you can be real curious and find yourself looking in on an energy situation that isn't yours, and now you have to field that energy because you looked. It didn't belong to you. It wasn't even your freaking business. But now, yeah. So when you're in a mode to set something or like get a trigger, and one of these people come up and you're just kind of randomly thinking about them anyway, and now all of a sudden they're just very much relevant in your mind, and now 2 minutes later they're calling, and there's one or two things that have happened. You triggered them and wanted to let them or make them call, or the very opposite, they triggered you and now here you are calling. And that goes on time and time again. And that's one of the real simple ways you can play with like inquisitive abilities to raise your vibration enough overall to, feel what's going on. There's no reason why you can't play with, like, who's going to call next, what's the next radio song, what kind of commercial is going to be on TV. Those are the kind of things you play with just to see if you get it. And they're simple, do-at-home, kind of by-yourself things.
Absolutely. You know, like my personal favorite one is, what's the next number that's going to come out on the roulette wheel? And there are like a million different factors that can influence the actual result, because, you know, maybe the energy of the table is bad. Maybe you don't like the dealer. Maybe the wheel is just on fire and doing crazy things that it's not supposed to be. It's just a bad luck kind of day. Maybe the moon is in the wrong place. I don't know. There are just so many different pieces to that, about how that can all fall apart. I have studied this religiously for years, and am I any closer to any answers? Not really. All I can say is that gambling is a form of entertainment. I do enjoy it, but that's kind of where I have to leave it. Because believe me, if there was like an actual systematic approach that I could teach people to, like, hey, this is how you divine the number that's going to roll out on the wheel, everybody would be doing it, and I would be worth all kinds of money, and casinos would have blacklists that were very long.
Yeah. Yeah, my son, he's not, well, he is, you know, there are things that we call addictions, and then there are addictive behavior, personalities. And so one of my boys, every once in a while he'll go to a casino and he'll sit and he'll play and he'll lose some and he'll get up and leave. Every once in a while he loses a little bit too much before he gets up to leave. And every once in a while, like 2 weeks ago, he hit $15,000 and then a $5,000 jackpot and little bitty ones incrementally throughout the rest of the night. He walked out of there with $21,000. Woohoo! And this is the kid that prays to God that everything is going to be all right. He's so full of anxiety. But when he really needs it, it comes through. He has to remember to ask for help and ask for that insight. So, and he totally does not do the whole woo-woo thing with me, but it just seems to me like if they didn't think there was something to it, they wouldn't ask for help. And so people that are going to ask you for help with things like that, they're really looking for support. And the key to any type of behavior like that is always going to be modification. So when you're looking for spirit to work with you, don't ever ask them to guide you to the winning pot. That's not going to happen. You may get lucky and let something push you, nudge you, coax you into a direction. But when it's all said and done, it's you making the last decision, you making the bottom line choice that allows it to happen. Unless you get to that point to where 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and you're just as quick to turn right or left, just depending upon, the voices in your head that are telling you how to walk and drive.
And I just want to let everybody know I'm working on something right now. Just give me a moment here. Let me change views. All right, perfect. So in astrology, believe it or not, Aries and Venus, the Aries point 0 degrees with the beginning of the zodiac, the genesis of all things, the year coming ahead. These are like some key words that we use for the Aries point. This, when you combine it with Venus, means literally this: attraction and manifestation of love, the power of attraction, love in general, surrounding many people with love, peace, goodwill, and love. So it's a very love kind of midpoint axis that we're looking at. But here's the real thing: the power of attraction. And remember that attraction does not in this case, it can mean, like that physically somebody is beautiful and that you're attracted to that. And, like as I've kind of been learning recently, that attraction really is good as far as you can throw it, because it doesn't necessarily mean that because somebody is hot that, that I like them. It just very simply means that they take care of themselves. Like they have got the art of self-care down. So that's why they're able to appear a certain way that we find appealing. And anybody can do it. It's just a matter of, when are you going to pull your head out of your ass and focus on the game that's at hand and what's really important in life. Because, like if I'm being really super duper honest, all dangling bits are private parts. They are literally all the same, with the exception of variation in shape and size. They are truly the same. So the only thing that differentiates us as human beings is, number one, our physical bodies, because that's what we see, which is a reflection of how we take care of ourselves. But, like we really say, it is who we are on the inside. So when we talk about like the power of attraction in this particular midpoint axis here, we're not only just talking about like your physical body, is that attractive? We're talking about like the actual law of attraction kind of thing. So because remember that attraction astrology in general is one of those things that we read literally. It literally means that attraction, law of attraction, we can throw that in there too, because, that's a whole entirely separate, different process, but it uses the same word. It's kind of like meeting the future wife or husband. We see that in a chart. And then people, will often challenge with the question, well, what about like LGBTQ plus relationships and gender politics and gender roles and all of that? So how does that impact the type of partner that you're looking for? Like, can I read in a chart that somebody is looking for a trans partner? Probably. It would take some dissecting. I could probably find that. But still, ultimately, you are looking for a husband or a wife. You are looking for a spouse, a partner. And that will show itself. And the definitions literally say just that. So people kind of, people get their panties in a bunch just because they think to themselves, oh my God, I don't want that to be true. And it's like, no, it is just that. That is all that it means. So when we say attraction, we mean the law of attraction. We can lump that in there as well. So this particular axis point is going to indicate to us what we can attract in life. And we're going to get off to our phone lines here and catch up with Dion at area code 630. I just now connected your line. Dion, are you there with me? Can you hear me?
Hi, I've been enjoying the show.
Perfect. So glad that you came out and joined us today. So welcome into the show. And I just want to take a look at this thing about like law of attraction and what that looks like for you, like the things that you love and, what can you attract through your own actions. Veretta, what do you have for Dion here about that issue?
Well, I was just starting to tune in. I think you've actually had... I don't want to say adverse reactions to things that you've been coming in contact with, because when I say adverse reaction, you might think about the anaphylactic shock. Well, it kind of probably is going to hit you the same way. It'll take your breath away, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that you're allergic to. It just means that you've had a lot of experience that kind of puts you through the gauntlet from one extreme to the other side. And I would say, where this is concerned, where you're concerned, there's something that you took a step in a different direction, and now you're here today, and will it go away? Will it get better? Will it be at ease? Yes, yes, and yes. And every bit of what you need to hear is, you're not done. You're not done. So don't in your head get all up there in that, well, I guess I better give my, resolution speech. No. You're going to take maybe a breather, take some time off, recreate, rebrand, and when you come back out, you're going to be doing 2 or 3 things. And that's going to be the savior, in that your brain is too active not to continuously poking around with something, because you've got to research. You've just got to research. That's who you are. And this is good. These are going to be the things that you're going to have ample time to do now for a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. I just want to jump in here real quick.
No, go ahead.
So what I'm looking at here, Dion, is about like the law of attraction. I'm sorry to say this, but it actually kind of seems like, at least at this point in time, there are a lot of roadblocks or obstacles. It's kind of like how I was opening the show. Like, there is just so much BS in the surrounding environment that distracts me from what's really important in my life, whatever that may be to you in your life. If that's focusing on your content writing or whatever other extracurricular activities you have planned or hobbies that you enjoy, you're just being distracted by all of this stuff. And, the real issue is just like, I feel like that there's a shortage of money, and that's kind of like, I don't want to say that you're attracting problems or trouble necessarily, but it just kind of feels like that there's a real losing streak going on here. And Veretta, do you pick up on that at all? That there's like,
Oh yeah,
like a downward
yeah,
slope
yeah. But see,
energy.
yeah, and it's not something that you've done. So don't go, like I said, don't go all up in your head going, did I screw me? How did I do it? I don't remember what I did. Don't go there. Don't go there. Right now, it's to purge anything that's still a Klingon off and start again. And that's what I'm saying. Just kind of come out. You're going to rebrand. You're going to be okay. You're carrying a lot of heaviness in that heart. And I think this is going to be the opportunity. You'll be able to... you'll have a say in getting your expression and your point across, but it'll cost you.
It'll cost me?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like if you vent on somebody, it's not like maybe the way they liked it or anything. They're going to bite your head back off. They'll throw you under the bus at some point in the future. They'll just make it really difficult, to stay in your skin.
Yeah, it's just like things have been really bad.
Oh, honey, I'm sorry. February. Ernesto, do you get any time when it's going to ease up?
Well, I can tell you that like this, what we're in right now, this heaviness will be over by January. There still might be some residuals that pick up after that, but like this holiday season is going to be kind of rough. I'll be straight up about that. What you would benefit from the most would be taking a vacation. Just getting the heck out of Dodge, like seeing some different sites, picking up on some different energy. I know you moved to Florida recently. Maybe there's some other beaches or other places, you've been thinking about, or you have some friends that live in different states nearby that you can, just drop in and visit them for a little bit. Like I always say, if you're going to stay with a friend though, just don't overextend, because after 7 days, everybody is pretty much ready to take out the bad trash. Like that's just the way it goes. I'm sorry. But, I really feel like that, like you recharging your batteries right now would be a very good thing, and you're going to accomplish that by changing the environment and taking like a little bit of a break here.
People suck, don't they, Dion?
What'd you say?
I said people suck, don't they?
I mean, it's just been like, I literally had to go to the mission today to get a pair of shoes and like a sweatshirt and a pair of pants. Like, I'm behind on bills. It's embarrassing. And like you said, I'm afraid to say anything to anybody because I don't want my situation to get worse. You know what I'm saying? And it's just been terrible.
Okay,
terrible.
So here's the first thing I want you to hear me say, and I want Ernesto to maybe bring stuff up. I need you to start to learn to compartmentalize. Compartmentalize yesterday. Compartmentalize the day before. Put it all in a bubble so that it's not one continuous thing adding on to itself, constantly growing bigger than we can handle. Make it one thing at a time. Put it in its place, and keep making one thing at a time until you have the energy to get some of that stuff in order. And then you do what you can. Don't figure you're going to get it all done. So that's a goal defeater right there. If you say, I'm going to make sure I get all this out of my... No, you're not. Don't even pretend to. This is where you got to get real about who you are, the situation you're in, the things that will be coming to you, rebranding or re-beefing yourself up so that you've got energy again. More than anything else, this is to say, okay, you got all the misnomers out of the way, now it's time to get to work. Like, you really need to just get to work and write what's needing to be written, and don't worry about anything else. Don't take it for granted that everything's going to be there like you need it. It is, but just don't take it for granted, like, and you start to think, I've had tuna fish for 3 weeks. I'm going to eat somebody's face off if I have to eat tuna fish. Well, no, you don't, honey. Stop. You're setting barriers that are impossible for you to keep. Stop. Put all the guideposts, all the mile marker maps away. I should be here by now. Throw it out the window. Throw that statement out the window. You should not be anywhere. Energetically, physically, progressively, you should be anywhere right now except for where you need to be. And I think when you finally get to the point to where you're able to say, even if it's just to your mirror, to yourself in the mirror, I'm really pissed at you people. I don't know what you expect of me. I give you everything I can, all I got, all the time, and you want more. You need to hear yourself say that looking at you in the glass. I guarantee after the third day of looking at you, and you're going to say whatever you need to say to get it going and get your feet, you're like, oh, the hell with this. I'm so done. I'm so over it. This is what I want now. Start bringing it to me. Thank you. I'm done being the martyr. Bring it.
Yeah, so
you'll get it.
Yeah, and Dion, I just want to add here that if you're watching our YouTube cast right now, you'll see in the third part of your chart that I have a black circle over that Jupiter in the transits with another black arrow that's moving backwards. So that's just Jupiter's, backwards movement for right now. And it's been in retrograde for a while. Jupiter is our planet of money. It also very simply means more. So if you're going through, some difficult times, it means more difficult times. And it also can mean that more problems if that's something else that you're experiencing. But because that energy is moving backwards right now in the chart, it's going to alleviate some of the heavy tension that you're really feeling right now. It turns direct at the end of December, right around the first of the new year. And once it does that, it's really going to be an opportunity for you to course correct. So something that I have started to notice in astrology when we're waiting for something to come true or to pass in the chart, and one of the planets in question is in retrograde and it's moving backwards, we're not getting what we want in the moment because the planet's moving backwards, and we're being called to focus inwardly on whatever personal change things need to happen in that regard. And so whatever themes or issues that you're kind of noticing in your day-to-day life, work as hard as you possibly can to resolve them, to either make them go away, to make them better, or to make them less damaging so that it's not so stressful and creates so much despair in your mind around the concept. Because once that Jupiter starts to move direct again, it'll pass right over where it's at right now, just like it is in the present moment. And while that would seem to imply that you will also have, some more difficult times ahead, let me just be clear when I say that the character or the color of those difficult times can be changed or morphed by your own actions and thoughts right now. So that's one of the reasons why this creative visualization that we're going through right now in this very episode is something that, you would really benefit from. I don't know what your situation looks like right now, but, working with Veretta to learn how to do this kind of thing specifically would really benefit you at the moment, because once that Jupiter starts to move forward again, you'll see different kinds of themes all the same. And, then you're going to be at a point where, oh, wow, so those shoes that I had to ask for that I felt so gross about, that I had to, ask for help, what is that? Well, now you've changed the narrative through your own actions, and by, not creating that mental roadblock or resistance. So that way, when that Jupiter is moving in a direct motion, you can say, all right, tough times, I'm seeing some writing on the wall that it might get a little bit rough. So let me go ahead and reach out to these networks of people that I know that can help me. And I'm not going to like being needy because that's just who I am. But this is what I need to do to keep a roof over my head, because that's the most important thing right now. And I'll be straight up with you that 2024 looks like a very dark year economically for the United States. So, it's going to be very rough for a lot of people. And so anybody who is at a point right now where it's getting a little bit scary, please, please, please work on your personal dirt and all of those unwanted or neglected aspects of self, because they will be highlighted next year in a not great way. So this is a chance again where you can rewrite that narrative and manifest something different through your own actions. And that's just because you've stepped out of yourself to create some growth here.
Yeah. Wait, did you say that it's going to get worse for me?
Not for you. I mean,
not just you.
No, it's going to be literally millions of people.
Okay, so last time we talked, which was months ago, you said something like in my chart, when something was going to pass through the sky, that I was going to be able to see more excess, and that like I was closing out like a money cycle and going into one where I'd have like better finances, and it was sometime over the fall. Are you still seeing that as an uptick for me?
I do, but it's, like, that's going to be kind of dependent on your mental state. Like we were talking about at the beginning of the show, that if you're coming from a point of despair and desperation, then it's going to go away. But if you're coming from the light and I don't care, I am taken care of and my basic needs are met, and whatever else that comes afterwards, is just extra icing on the cake. That's when you adopt that mindset, then you're just going to have gold coins falling into your lap.
Yep. And he's exactly right. And that's what, it's not that things shifted, but you definitely made a course correct, and you will make another course correct that will allow you to understand that the first one you made was very monumental. You won't know what that is for a little bit to come, though. And then, like, you don't reflect in a negative manner, honey. That just breeds contempt. If you have to la your way through a scared moment where your brain is like falling out and you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do, they're going to take my stuff. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Okay, the minute you get to where you're just, you've said everything you could say and you've gotten to that point to where you hit the bottom, that's where you want to feel the energy start to pick you up. Because if you truly hit the bottom, there's nowhere to go but up, unless you're bouncing, and you don't bounce. So give yourself permission to know that what's coming up is going to get real for a whole lot of people. And you might think you need more, but you'll get enough. You just need to remind yourself that it's what you need and that it'll be okay. And when things change and you'll get a little bit more, because I think by the end of next year, a lot of people are in for a tough time. And even if they didn't think so at the beginning of the year. So this is where, we could see our country in a big upheaval by the end of next year that will take everything we're saying away, because all bets are off. Anything could happen at that point. So I think and the reason I'm bringing that up is I think that you're meant to address that. And so if that's the case, that would make sense why they're saying, go for a little break, honey. Do a little rebrand. Think about a little bit something else you're going to want to think up, because you're going to sit around for a year or better waiting for the move that you can make. So just start looking for things that kind of seem kind of silly, or maybe, don't feel like you would do it right away, but still it feels right to reach out to something like that resource-wise. This is a place to create resources. And if you're starting to meet a lot of people, that's also what this time frame's about, to set your goals, to give you resources on your journey.
Okay.
Yeah, so just one last thing. Let me just check this out really quick. I want to see how this lines up in your chart. I feel like that, I know that I have kind of been going through a lot of just sort of questions in my mind, like, should we keep up the show or should we shut it down? I mean, it's kind of like we at best, on our very, very best, like we've maybe recouped 7% of like the total cost of the input for the upkeep of this program. So I've really kind of wondered, like, is everybody just a freeloading user, or is everybody broke ass bitches, or do they just not love us? Which one of the three is true? It can't be all of them, or it can't be a few of them. It's only one. And I wonder about this a lot, like, what the heck should I do with this program? And, and then I look at sort of like, well, if no money is coming in, then something has to break, something has to change. And what the heck is that going to be? And, like, I don't lose sleep over finances. I am very fortunate and grateful that I don't, like, lose sleep thinking about things that are totally out of my control. I'm wired to focus on the things that I can control. And to focus on something that I can control would be like to read a book or to watch a movie or a show, get lost into some other series, just turn my mind off those are ways that I sort of distract myself from all of this other stuff. And astrology is definitely a huge part of that. Like astrology gives me hope for the future. Like I can look at a chart and say, so it does get better. And, like it may not necessarily be in the time frame that I want, but if I keep just taking it day by day, one day at a time, which is a phrase that I live by, then then it'll work itself out, and it always does. But when I get lost in like in the ruminating thought process that it's just going to get worse, then that's sort of when it gets dicey and doesn't start to look so great. So that's kind of like a thing that I think you would really benefit from, Dion, is distracting yourself with some new leisure activity or hobby. It doesn't even have to be expensive. Like you could buy used books, you could get into coloring, I don't know, something that you just enjoy, gardening, whatever floats your boat. Pick and choose what's right for you, but then get lost into that activity, because it redirects the mental energy and that rumination that you can't break free of. Best case scenario is that you get into something like painting or drawing or reading tarot cards or something like that, and you go pro with it. Like you're like me, and you say either go pro or go home. Like I'm either going to give this my all, or I'm just not going to focus on it at all. And I do feel that, let me take a look. Where is this right now? It's up there. Okay. Yeah, I do feel like that you absolutely do have some success coming your way with hobbies and activities. It's neither here nor there, because you won't reap those benefits probably until about the spring of 2024. So it's still a few months away, but now is one of those times where, like, we're talking about rebranding and shifting the narrative of what's going on in your personal life. Adding something new and getting really, really damn good at it, you means that you could, especially if it's something that's valuable like cutting hair, then you can make money off of it. It's a way to live, and I do feel like that you will make money professionally from hobbies. So you would benefit from picking up something new that you enjoy, that brings you joy, and really focusing on being good at just that.
Okay.
Veretta, do you have anything else, or is that basically everything?
Yeah, just hang in there. I think the change that will affect everyone overall is like that's a game changer. So people will be really focused on what's happening overall right now to the world versus what's happening only to me, and that's where you're going to want to be comfortable. You're going to want to stay comfortable until you can start getting information from that. Like you go out and you start to glean information from a conversation, or you're starting to see a pattern and you're starting to think that maybe this is something that, is supposed to give you a guidance or avoid, one of the two. So just be very open to receive and very optimistic when it's something that's, as random as a donkey butt. It doesn't really matter what you're going to receive. It's going to be creative in its effort. It's going to help you understand more what's going on down the road. So just hang in there, honey. Just a little while longer.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add, if you ever do need anything, need any help, please reach out right away. The moment you see the writing on the wall, just go ahead and do it. Be proactive. Be that person who, hounds people and calls them every couple of days if you haven't heard back, just to make sure that, they're being held accountable, because, your needs are kind of at stake here. And that's not a great thing to have slide by the wayside. One of the things that's really interesting about asking for help is that many people don't like to do it, because, we're just all sort of wired that I can take care of it myself, until it becomes a problem, and then it's too late. And that's always, tragic that it escalates to, those types of conditions. But the other side of that coin too is the fact that the people who are out there to help us are not mind readers. They don't know. You can't hit them over the head, and they're still not going to know that you need something. It's of utmost value and importance in everybody's lives to speak your own personal needs. I need X. Like that is okay. Like I need friends. I need a vacation. I need to get laid. I need to eat. I need to do whatever, and that's okay that if you have to throw other things by the wayside just so that you can handle those needs, because neglect creates all kinds of chaos that doesn't need to exist. So if you're starting to notice that it is, that one thing that you really need, and it's going to become a problem, maybe like in a couple of days or next week, just get ahead of it and say, you know what, tomorrow morning I'm going to make that phone call and start that whole everything, because it'll just make my quality of life better.
Yeah.
Is your show on Spreaker just going to be a podcast?
I have no idea. Like, that's something that I still have to check out yet. I don't really know if Spreaker does call-ins. So that's something. If it doesn't, then I'm going to shut it down, and then we'll just come back here to Blog Talk Radio. This account will remain open at least until that other one is up and running. And I know that that's all going to be okay. So, next week for our show, there will at least be an announcement or a link that you can find us at the new place. But I'm really hoping that Spreaker is going to allow us for some call-ins. It sounds like that they may have to be done through Skype. So if you don't have a Skype account, you should create one, because that'll allow us to connect with each other. I think that they also do Zoom and Discord also as other options, but Skype is really just the easiest. So I do have to look into all of that, and the answer is I don't know. But next week, once the show is up, then, if it ends up not working out from the test that I run over the weekend, then we'll just come back here to Blog Talk Radio.
Okay, and then can I ask one more question about the United States?
What's that?
Yes.
Okay, so I've heard this now from like 2 other publications about 2024 in the United States and the economy and the crisis. Is it going to be like a COVID situation, or is it going to be like a shutdown, or?
From what I gather,
I think it'll be a full stop. Yeah, just for a little while. A week or so, maybe.
From what I get, I feel like that history is honestly going to repeat itself in a really evil and awful way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like with the Great Depression or something?
No, I mean, imagine World War II conditions in today's times.
Yeah.
And the United States is Germany.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there'll be so many continental influences that really there's no way to even point a blame. There'll be so many reasons why it's happening. Our economy is dumping right now as we speak. People, get your stuff together. Do not wait until the last minute before you have to hear someone say, oh, yep, they just sold the last loaf of bread. Get your butt out there and get some things that would be perishable, but non-perishable, excuse me. If you are okay with stashing beans and rice, then do so now. And don't think back about what you could have had. Oh, I should have got that one on my hat. No. You shouldn't have got that, because you don't know what's in the future. So don't beat yourself up if something gets lost over time. It's not something that you're going to need to really credibly worry about. You're going to be busy. You're definitely going to be busy. And I really feel like the busy is getting information, is doing research, is being available and listening to what's going on, so you know what the right way is to chronicle history, because history is going to repeat itself, but we're going to have 100 people around there going, okay, did you not see what that said on that sign along the way? You begged it to happen. You didn't just visualize it into intent. You begged it to happen. So it's going to happen. And that's going to send ripple effects throughout our country, not just our country, but it's going to send ripple effects through the world, but it's going to probably send the United States into a shutdown for a little while.
It's going to get kind of difficult, like the whole crisis with Israel and Ukraine and all of that stuff that we've heard about recently. It's going to keep happening, but different countries will be affected. So it's like I was talking with my colleague Penny Berticelli about this, and she was saying that she truly expects that next year is going to bring a lot more of that Ukraine-Israel type of crisis, but different Western industrialized nations will be in the forefront. So it's kind of like the United States, France, Germany, England, like they're all going to be damaged in some kind of way. I don't know how, the long and short of this is once once the money machine finally breaks, because that's really what this is about, is the money machine, right? Once that finally breaks, and we are dealing with the damage control and the fallout, which is going to get very dark, by the way. So everybody should be pinching their pennies today. That would be a smart thing to do. Then we really just need to be conscious about where we are. And the great news is that, Beretta, you and me, we're going to be doing just fine. You know why? Because our lives, healing, psychic, Uranian astrology, that's all, dominated and governed by Hades. And, if that's a planet of darkness and we're using it to the utmost positive, we're going to be fine. But, everybody else who's kind of caught up in their own shtick and, maybe doing some dark, dirty, scammy kinds of things, those are going to be the people who have their lives turned upside down. So, I mean, it's sort of like you get to choose right now, at least, what type of person you want to be. And if you want, and who you are in all of this fight, if you're going to fight for the light or if you're going to fight for the shadow. And that's going to determine how you're affected. So, anybody who's a light worker right now, we're going to be okay during those times. And I think that, this very show will probably really skyrocket in popularity when the world is in shambles and falling apart, because everybody's in despair and we have all the answers because that's what we do.
All right,
awesome.
Ma'am. Well,
thank you.
Be careful.
Thank
be
you
safe.
very much.
Yeah,
you
for sure.
hang in there. Follow us around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just want, Dion, when you're looking for those activities, that you want to go pro with, doing anything like metaphysical, divination, meditation, anything like that to, channel that Hades energy in a positive manner, that's going to redirect all of the darkness that you feel personally. That's what I refer to as a karma sink. That's kind of where it's like you can dump everything that's ugly and gross and unwanted into your life into that karma sink, and you can leave it right there while you focus and work with the light. So that's one of the reasons why we do it this way. And I would suggest that, if there's a little bit of a rough patch coming up, just for even a little bit now, that doing anything metaphysical or, intuitive, that's going to take you places, that redirects the energy, that shifts the narrative in your personal alchemy. So you would really benefit from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we do want to thank you for giving us a call, and we'll catch up with you real soon.
Thank you.
For sure. Take care. And until next time, good luck and Godspeed. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and close out the show for today. We do have about 15 minutes left. So just a couple more. Let's just talk for a little bit more and kind of close down. For tonight, we will be back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Arizona time for another show, probably on Spreaker. But if that doesn't work out, then we'll be here on BTR again. And Beretta, getting back to our dialogue that we were having, what role does belief play in the effectiveness of creative manifestation techniques?
Well, that's pretty easy. If you're pretty convinced it isn't going to work, you're right, it isn't going to work.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean? The fact is that when you visualize what you want to have happen, if you visualize it's going to fail, then it's going to fail. And it doesn't fail because you wanted it to happen. It fails because it was an easier access point to relate to what you're looking at. So say, you got a quiz coming up or maybe a job eval coming up, and you're so focused on that one thing you did wrong, back in the day, and you're just scared to death somebody's going to eventually figure it out. And either A, it'll make you sick, and or self-sabotage what you've got going on because you don't think you're enough, or you go ahead and adopt to that way of thinking that, hey, maybe you might not have all the answers to everything, but I'll bet you we can get it. Just watch. And that's where you stay open-minded. That very statement keeps you open-minded, not to set in stone what's going to happen, in the day down the road, because you said it was going to. See, I told you nothing good was going to happen. Well, it's because you brought it on. Don't bring it to you. when you guys know that something is coming and you don't know the end result, do not focus on the end result as far as when this date gets here, then I need to be ready for it, because you're going to be way too late trying to run interference, trying to make up for lost time, trying to, catch a break on trying to create something. It just isn't happening. It just isn't happening. Stop trying. Absolutely stop freaking trying. Don't put any more time into doing something that's netting you zero in return. Again, this is not about what you have to keep trying. This is about what you can make available to others through you, and then, you can talk about whether or not you should quit trying. But if you got more than one thing going on, then definitely allow a lot of combination time, energy to manifest whatever it is that you're looking at, because there's many moving components and parts to that, and it's not just about whether you're ready. The other parts to that need to be ready too. So just always remember, if there's a holdup and you're doing absolutely everything you're supposed to do it right, it's not on you. It just is not on you. It's a time frame thing. It's not a whether you do it right thing. It's when you're ready, it'll be there, and it's not gonna. You're not gonna budget anytime any sooner, ever. You go into the lottery store, or you go into a lottery retail, and talk yourself right up to the counter to say, I'm not gonna win it. I don't even know why I bother ever playing this thing. Well, just throw the money at her, honey. Forget about having to print out a ticket. You just donate it to the store anyway.
I love this story about the old man who's a gambling addict and goes to the casino, and he hits a jackpot and wins $15,000, right? And what happens next? The same old man is seen at that exact same slot machine 4 days later, and has got all but $50 left from that win, because, he was chasing some other jackpot, the belief that, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. So, for a lot of us, the difficulty in all of this whole process of creative manifestation is, how do we remain authentic to our own intent and, what we're actually feeling, as opposed to being emotional and then losing the 15,000 that we just won. Your son, on the one hand,
and then,
he gets it. He ran the hell away because he knows that the casino wins every time. But
because he's done that before.
Yeah.
He's hit big pots before and then shoved it all right back in, thinking, I just one more good, and then all the money's gone. So he's finally keyed into calling his brother and I and showing us what he's done, because then we're both tag teaming him the rest of the night until he's out of the casino. And whether we're doing it in person or by the phone, one or the other of us is talking to him to get out of the casino, because we know he's capable of putting that money right back in. And so he's finally gotten to this place where he wants to keep a majority of that. He calls the minute he hits a jackpot. And we keep talking to him until he gets to the very last one. His brother and I happened to be together when he called us on the phone. And his brother saw what he was doing first and was like, "You son of a biatch. How do you keep doing that stuff?" And I turned around just in time to see the 15,000 mark attained. And when I called him the next day, I said, "How much did you get out with?" He said, 2/3 of what I made. Yeah, that's a score. That is a score. So everything happens for a reason. If it's not happening your way, there's a reason. It may more than likely be a timing thing. So don't get butthurt about not getting what you think is yours, regardless of when you think you should get it or in the manner you should give it. And that's why I'm pretty flexible when it comes to working with spirit, because if I want them to work with me, I have to be able to say, okay, just a minute, let me go get some shoes on, I'll go down the walkway or whatever. You just have to accommodate. And there will be times you're clueless as why you're accommodating. But Spirit wouldn't have asked you had it not been important, and you don't even need to know why. Just do it. And that's where I'm at this point. I don't even care to know why. Just tell me what needs to be done and give me the directions. Let me get over it and get on with my life and do something different. I don't even break a sweat when I hear that something else needs to be done. I just do it.
This is the last question that I have for the show, because to your point about what we were just talking about, a lot of it always comes down to our intent, and we preach this on the show here, that when you stop caring, everything falls into your lap. When you're always trying to control the narrative and there's some ulterior motive, like I have to win money so that I can pay bills, or, I have to do X because, there's some other greater plan for it, which is really just very sort of mundane, very basic, not exciting. It's not like for the greater good. It's truly just for self because of just you were thrown a bad hand in life at that particular moment. But when you're given a bad hand in life, just for that short little bit, how do you navigate through the challenges and setbacks on your journey of personal growth? And how do you adopt the concept of resilience?
Okay, so these are things that personal boundaries will create for the growth. But if you do not have good boundaries overall, then personal boundaries aren't going to be enough. You don't understand the boundary concept. Now, I'm not saying you figuratively, but what I'm saying is when somebody has to sit down and take a look at what's going on because they don't feel like it's enough, there's definitely something missing. It just may not be what you think. It may not be what you can afford. So therefore, you have to compensate where you can and be flexible. If Spirit is supposed to be able to bring you something, you freaking better be asking questions on how, when, where, if, or why. If it's something that you need information on to make availability happen, then that's all you need. You don't need any more information than that. You want to keep it pure. Just keep it on the Spirit side. Like I said, you don't even have to ask questions about what else should be done on behalf of whatever you're at in your growing or learning or teaching curve, wherever that comes from. It's got to be with the intent of understanding that there'll be more. There'll always be more learning, as long as you're always receptive, as long as you're continuing to be flexible, so Spirit can work with you when those days come that they need to get a hold of you. Then you will always have work, because they're going to always be looking for you. And that's they being in Spirit. Because once they find you, then they can dedicate the souls that they're in charge of coming to your side and getting the help that you need. So it's a dual-edged sword. You're gifted what Spirit needs you to know right away, and you're gifted with the money to be able to do what you need, because for whatever reason, they just keep coming in, keep trickling in, and you thought, if you weren't supposed to do it, I'd have quit by now. Or the other side is, if I was going to succeed, I would have by now. That is the wrongest statement I've heard in I don't know how long. The fact is, it may be at the very end of your life before you ever know what a lot of the learnings, a lot of the teachings, a lot of the upset was about. And then by that time, it's too done. I mean, you're checking out and mobiling out. But the reality of that is then you're clean. If you're clear of conscience and you've played an honest hand right the way it was dealt, you didn't short anybody, you didn't do anything to be mean, and if you did, you took your karmic consequences gracefully and got over it quickly and moved on. And when we realize that not all of life is about to get us and that's all we want to hear, and we start being a whole lot different when it comes down to recognizing that we too deserve something nice, not because of what we've done, but because we are, just because of we are. So not entitlement, not begrudging anybody, but being receptive to what you deserve and allowing Spirit to bring it to you. Get those hand in hand with the manifestation. And when you are really ready to know when that is capable of happening, then you'll get all kinds of stuff downloaded on you.
And remember, that I just want to leave with everybody with this for the end of the program. You either win or you learn. Like even the man who lost the $15,000 jackpot 4 days later by sitting at the same slot
90 seconds.
Machine, this person even realized, oh crap, that was a bad choice. Like maybe I should have listened to that inner voice that told me to walk away when I had to go to the bathroom a couple of days ago. You know, like you learn something in the process. So it's kind of, it's your choice. You can either be proactive or, you know, it's like you can be dealt the bad hand and deal with the damage control later.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank all of our guests I want to thank all of our guests for calling us today. 60 seconds. We are running out of time here on the show, and we will be back with you guys next Wednesday at 7 p.m. for another 1-hour program. For all other things Iranian astrology, be sure to check out my link tree, and you can find Veretta at verettavision.com. Thanks so much, Veretta, for joining me today. It was a pleasure, as always. Really love this new format that we're doing here, and I look forward to the next phase as we move over to the new network.
Awesome. All right, mister. You take care, and everybody stay safe out there.
Have a great week, everybody. We will catch up with you soon. Until next time, good luck and Godspeed.